All right, welcome to Schoology Conferencing with me, Rosemary Jane, and moderating Kimberly McLean. To quickly go over our agenda before we begin, we are going to be looking at how to create a conference within Schoology using the built-in conferencing tool that you already have. We're going to look at conducting the conference, how to record, upload a presentation, share polls, and the whiteboard feature. We're going to look at how to join a conference, what that looks like in linked sections, the number of participants, and the in-progress status. We're also going to look at handling our participants, muting them all, sharing notes, and setting a status. We'll look at how to end a conference and how to access completed recordings and history. And last off, we'll look at how you can share your conference details using Schoology updates and your materials section. So do keep your microphone muted during the session, and we're about to begin. All right, I do want to first point out that this is just my tip to all users. Schoology is another one of our district tools that we authenticate with Google Chrome. We log in with Google. So if you are using a tool that logs in with Google, it's best to be using the Chrome browser. So I do recommend you're on the Chrome browser. And I do recommend that you are signed in and sync is on to your browser. You can access Schoology right here through this extension for Clever. So if you are signed on and syncing to your CPS BOE account, or your students are, the Clever extension is right there at the top of the toolbar. So you can click on Clever. That's going to be our best way to go into Schoology and really any of our district apps. All right, I'm in Clever, and I'm going to go to Schoology. Your view will be slightly different. I do have a system admin view. But the nice thing, if I'm signed on and syncing, it takes me straight in. I didn't have to go through authenticating my login. All right, I'm in Schoology, and now let's look at conferences. Our Schoology Enterprise Learning Management System account has conferences built in for free. Conferences are accessible on a browser only. So if you are using the Schoology mobile app, please open your browser, Safari or Chrome on your device to use a Schoology conference from a mobile device, either a phone or tablet. Conferences are accessed through our courses. So for this one, I'm going to open one of my practice courses, but just be aware you may have to navigate to My Courses if your course doesn't appear in that first 12 grid. So click on Courses, locate your course, and open it. Once in your course, you can ignore the content. We're not doing Schoology content in here. We're looking at using conferences. On the left panel menu, teachers, you can select conferences. So again, on the left panel menu, we selected conferences. Now, while I'm sharing all of this, Kimberly is going to be putting a link to Schoology's support document on conferences. And when I'm done showing this, I'll go back into that. All right, I'm in conferences in Schoology. And what you can see is I have this button here, Create New Conference. This is for scheduling your conference. You do not have to go to an external calendar. You can build it right in here. I'm going to name the conference Training Session 1. And I'm going to give it a start time. So I'm going to make it for today, the 17th. And I'm going to make it for 2 p.m. I can add an end time if I want. However, it's up to you. You may want to be notifying your class that you're only going to be in for this specific time frame. But I've also talked to some teachers who said they don't like to put an end time because their conferences last anywhere from 10 minutes to 20 minutes, maybe even an hour. So they don't want to put the end time. But just be aware that you can add an end time there. You hit Create, and your conference is now in queue for your students. I do want to show it from a student perspective. So for that, I'm going to go into Schoology in another browser. And I'm going to go to this course in this student's account. Big thanks to my friend Jessica, who lets me use her daughter as a demonstration. All right, so that student could just go into Schoology, click on conferences themselves, and they have a conference sitting right here, training session. But what you'll notice is it's not started, and I can't launch it as a student yet. Let's go back to the teacher view. As a teacher, once I've created the new conference, I can click Start, and the big blue button app opens in the next tab. I do go through a quick sound check. I'm going to join with my computer microphone. Test, test. Yep, it's working. And I do just want to show you how the conference opens up to begin. Before I do that, I'm going to hop back over here to the chat. And yep, Kimberly is awesome. She's already got your guide there. Do want to bring to your attention, you can skip past installing the app. We have installed it district-wide. So we were in the Create a Conference section, and here is your interactive guide with visuals for you, already built in. So if you want to go back over that yourself, you can look at this. So now we are in the conducting a conference portion of our agenda. All right. So I'm going to show you how we record, how we upload a presentation, how we give students a poll, and what the whiteboard looks like. It's quite a few things we're going to go over next. Let's hop back over now that I have the conference active and see what my student sees. Now, as that student, it says in progress, and that student can now join that conference. It takes the student through the same prompts for listening only or using their microphone. I'm going to listen only because the double feedback when I present this is really bad. Listen only, allow. All right. There'll be a small feedback, but this is the student's view. Right. I'm going to leave it for now so that we don't get the feedback while I'm in the teacher side. And I'll just hop back in and out as the student. Okay, when you land in Schoology Conferences, we're going to look at how to record, upload your presentation, polls, and whiteboard. It's just telling me that I'm the only person in this conference if you're hearing that message. The first thing that opens up, the chat box does open right there. And at first, when I viewed this conference, I thought, wow, that's a lot going on the screen. But it only takes a few times navigating through it to understand that, okay, it just opens the chat message for me. So I can say hello to everyone right away. But I can also close that chat. It'll expand my view. Now, the first slide is this welcome to Big Blue button. The second slide is the whiteboard. I'm going to get into that in a minute. Right here at the top, I can start my recording. Now, what you may notice is that it does not default to having my webcam on. I need to decide if I want to share my webcam. So I can quickly do that. Start sharing. Now I'm going to get a view with my webcam and the presentation below. One thing that I really like about the Schoology view is that I can increase this presentation. My webcam is still recording, but the view is much bigger. I'm going to minimize it for now. And I'm going to show you how I can upload a presentation. Using this small blue button in the lower left, I can click to upload my presentation. So I'm going to share a file I have on my desktop. And it's actually just a Word file. It looks kind of like slides. I'm going to pretend it's a PowerPoint slide presentation. It could be anything that I have saved on my computer, PowerPoint presentation, a Word document, a PDF. I'm going to drag that file over here. Now, the other way that you can access files instead of dragging and dropping is click here to browse, and it opens up the files on your computer. All right, I want this presentation to be uploaded. You can see it is selected. I just click upload. Takes just a moment if you have a very image heavy, like depending on your file size, just be patient as that uploads. All right, so now my presentation is displayed and I can expand it and use Annotation Tools right here on the screen. So I may want to draw my students' attention to a specific word. I may want to freehand write. I'm using my stylus. And so I can write here. I can change my color. So you can definitely see how this could be handy for showing, solving equations or things like that. So I'm annotating on the screen. Just so you're aware, the undo button is right here. And if I want to get rid of all my annotations at once, I can click trash. Now what's really cool is I can go into a multi-present mode. I'm going to save that for later. But I can have other participants in the meeting, including my students, or maybe even a co-teacher, multi-presenting with me. I'm going to shrink this back down. And I want to show you how we can just go through the different slides. Just toggle in between those in either expanded or decrease size. And I can annotate and use these tools over here on my slides. But let's say that I just want a blank canvas. I want to show maybe solving an equation, and I need a blank canvas. I don't need this presentation right now. What I'd like to do is toggle back and forth. I just go to the plus menu again, my upload presentation. See how it's selected here? What I'm going to go back to is the default selection. Default selection takes me back to the Schoology screen, big blue button screen, excuse me, but page 2 is reserved as a blank whiteboard space. So page 2 is where I could use my annotation tools. Like the whiteboard. I heart Schoology. All right, there's my annotation tools for Schoology. Again, I can undo or delete all of the annotations. And I do have that multi-present where I can invite my students in to also annotate as well. So great tool, easy to navigate. I love how I can pop it in and out of a larger, smaller view. Let me look back at the agenda to make sure I'm hitting everything. Now I'm using my stylus too. All right. We looked at, oh, I think I forgot to hit record. I'm sorry, I went out of order here. So up here, right at the top, the start recording button is there. I did miss recording the beginning of that. I hit start recording. Yes, ma'am.
I am in the class if you want to show that multi-user button.
Oh, I would love to. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to put my presentation back in. And to toggle back and forth, I just went back to the plus sign and hit confirm and switch to that. Make it nice and large and go into multi-present. So now Kimberly and I are both in the screen. She's in red. I'm going to do blue, and I am annotating in blue. Oops. All right. So obviously, you could do this for complicated equations. You could show how to solve them. Let me. Kimberly, do you want to show that again? Maybe how about you insert a shape? I might give directions like circle the letter S. So I can think for a very lower primary age. I can circle the letter S.
You turned off multi-user. You turned off multi-user.
Oh, my bad, sorry. I'm clicking too quick. It's on multi-user now. Guys, it's that easy to select multi-user or not. So, all right. You get the idea. And then I can just delete all of the annotations if I want to, or just undo individual ones. Okay. I can add a text box. Pay attention. Right, or anything that I need to do. And the nice thing is this is all recording. I'm going to go out of this full screen mode. My webcam's still recording back here. It's recording in the background. And so now I am going to, what I'm going to do. Oh, show you a poll. All right, so don't forget I've got a student in on the other screen. I'm going to show the poll. I add it here, start a poll. So I can just ask my students a question without them using their microphone, and they can answer yes, no. Let me show it on the student side. Here's her poll, and the question for yes, no came up. So I verbally asked a question to my students, and my student can select yes. And then the teacher gets to see the responses right here. So I'm going to launch another poll. This one I'm going to say true or false. Using Schoology is complicated. True or false? I'm going to hop back in as my student. False. Completely biased here. All right. Hannah thinks that using Schoology is complicated is false, and so does Kimberly. I agree with you. All right. Another cool thing about polls is you can do a custom answer. So How are you feeling today? Awesome. Okay. Super bummed. And I can start my custom poll. So I put that poll out to my students. Now, what you might have heard is a ding. That's Hannah's account dinging to let her know that I've submitted a poll. So right there, I verbally asked her, hey, how are you doing today? And she can say awesome or okay or not so good. As the teacher, I see the responses from Kimberly and Hannah that they are doing awesome. All right. So I've shown you how to record, how to upload a presentation, polls, and whiteboard. Not necessarily in that order, but that's what we've hit so far. All right, I'm going to pause to make sure there are not questions right now before I continue.
You are good to go.
Sweet. All right, next topic. Handling our participants. All right, especially that Kimberly. She's a problem child. I got to handle her. Okay, as the teacher, I can go over to the user. Now, Hannah, I turned off the sound on her side so that I wouldn't get that echoed feedback. So I don't have a control there. But with Kimberly, if she's got a little bit too noisy, maybe her other sibling is making noise in the background or the TV is on, I can click on her and I can mute her individually. If I have a whole class of 16 or 18 students or more in one conference, we can have up to 250 right now. It is based on capacity of Schoology. The typical limit is 100 users. But I can go up to my controls. Oh, where was I? Settings, sorry. Right here, the settings above my users. Imagine instead of just 2 people signed into my conference, I've got a whole class. I can, in one click, mute all users, including myself. I can mute all users, or I can turn off mute for all users. Maybe I'm going to throw out a popcorn question and I want all users unmuted. I can also assign someone like Kimberly as a presenter. Kimberly, do you have a screen ready to go? Would you be able to show a presentation right now? Okay. Not
sorry, I was having trouble with my microphone. I muted myself so I wouldn't bother you. I do not, but I can grab something really quick if you'd like.
Yeah, sure. Or, I can make Hannah the presenter and I can show her screen. So I'll do that, but then I'll hop back and get you as a presenter.
Perfect.
So I have just made Hannah the presenter. So now she can, share her screen. So I'd have to select a window. I'm on Firefox. I'm going on a different browser when I use a student account for training purposes. So it's going to be a little bit different in Chrome. I have to decide what I'm going to show. I'm going to show this. All right, it's giving me a preview. Hit allow. So now Hannah is going to share her screen, and maybe what she's showing her teacher is that she tried to find the assignment sets for Khan Academy. And she's lost in a Google search. So what can her teacher do? She can see, he or she, sorry. And I'm going to go into an extended view of this. I can be talking with Hannah, and Hannah can be talking back with me about her search or about the problem that she's having, or even if the teacher and student just want to share what the student's screen is showing. Maybe they're having trouble submitting the Schoology assignment, or opening the Google link, or sharing a doc. The teacher can see that student's screen right here. I love the ease of sharing screens from student to teacher, and I like that all of these controls remain here for the teacher. I can zoom in and get a very clear view of what Hannah's got going on, or I can zoom out and I've got all my control features here. And what I'm going to do is remove her as presenter.
And I just want to mention that because I am a co-administrator of Rosemary's class, so if you have another administrator in your class, I can take over this presentation at any time. I can just hit that blue button at the bottom left-hand corner that has the big plus on it, and I can say, take presentation, and then I will be in control of this screen. So I'll upload my presentation now.
Perfect. I'm going to also go into my Hannah settings, and I can either remove her, make her the presenter, or I can promote her to moderator. So I could have a student be a moderator as well who could actually run some of my settings. You can see Kimberly has taken over. And so I'm going to maximize my screen so you can watch what Kimberly's doing. Kimberly,
make sure my microphone.
Okay.
No, this is just one of our trainings for Power Teacher Pro, but I'm uploading it, and you can see now that I'm the moderator, I turn off the whiteboard, and you'll see Rosemary and myself here as multi-presenters.
Yes.
Or I control the whiteboard and all of that. Or I can turn it on to single user, multi-user. I can now mute anybody that I need to. I can perform all of the same actions that Rosemary was performing because we are both administrators in the same class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point for you to share, especially those of us who are co-administering a course or maybe have our paraprofessional in joining us, or for those of you who want to work collaboratively. So Kimberly switched us back to the blank whiteboard, but we're still on, we're not on co, are we?
No, I made you the presenter.
Okay.
By going over to your name on the left, clicking on your name and making you presenter, just like you did with Hannah.
I will show you, I think I just showed that before, but I'll show that on yours as well. So over here, I can make her presenter. That's what Kimberly did in the background that you didn't see. That's why I got back total control and why the multi-user turned back to 1. It'll show a duplicate screen right here. This tiny icon is 2 screens now, or it is just on 1 if one person is presenting or doing the whiteboard annotations. All right, let me hop back.
All right, next on your agenda is the share notes and set status.
Perfect. All right. So I'm going to go back into Hannah's side for this one. If Hannah wants to set her status, she can click on herself, set status. She can say away. Maybe she had to run to the restroom or, got interrupted. Raise her hand. I'll show you on the teacher side what that looks like. I can see right here that Hannah's initial changed to a raised hand. So if you had a long row of students, you can see that raised hand. Hannah can also set her status or happy or applaud something. So I like these different statuses that are just right here for the student to use. Thumbs up. I know when I taught primary, we do thumbs up, thumbs down all the time, and it's been even helpful on meetings. But I can see her thumbs up, thumbs down. And let me go to the teacher side. So there it is. I can see Hannah's got a thumbs up. Now, when Hannah wants that gone, she can also clear her status. So this is going to work for users of various ages. Obviously, with our lowest primary, they should probably be on any sort of meeting with a parent or adult caregiver anyway. But for your high school or even middle school, upper elementary, these tools are very intuitive. I can quickly set my status just with a few clicks. And then it's even telling me what I've set my status to. All right. I set my status. Kimberly, I'm sorry. I do keep forgetting the list.
Share notes.
Share notes. Thank you. Okay. Back in my big blue button. Share notes is the next one down. So chat was our regular chat message area. You can keep it open or collapsed. Share notes, same sort of thing. Share notes is a really great feature because it's exactly what it sounds like. I can start typing, Hannah can start typing, Kimberly can start typing. So hello, everyone. Add your notes here while I present or lecture or whatever or while I read. All right, I'm going to go in as Hannah. Shared notes, and you can see that there's now a little bit of a flag there. There's something in shared notes. And so Hannah can open shared notes, and Kimberly is typing, and Hannah's going to jump in. Hi, this is Hannah. So this is a collaborative notes section. I was just on a call earlier today with a parent, and she was talking about the student is just being told to do this activity and submit it. Do this activity and submit it. And that the kid is really missing collaboration and working with their peers. It's a great little built-in tool for collaborating. We can even, there's a little bit of text editing going on right up here. So from teacher's side now, I can see all of these notes in here. And then see this button? I can import or export these notes and my students can too. So I can export them as a plain file, and I can have the notes from the presentation, or Hannah can also export those notes. My Firefox browser is asking me how I want to open it, so I'm not going to actually open it. I already showed you on my screen. All right, so my shared note space, I can export or import it. I can continue to add to it as I go. Next.
Okay, I would open it to questions right now.
Great.
Because now we're moving on to ending the conference and accessing all the information.
All right, if anybody has a question that you have either put in the chat here, well, I don't have any questions in the chat here. If anybody wants to unmute for a brief question, we will be moving on to ending the conference and how to share it in Schoology. Questions, comments, concerns?
Looks like we're good to go.
I will take this silence to mean that we are rocking this and you completely get it. Difference between this and Google Meet. Fantastic question, Monique. The difference between this and Google Meet is that one is a Google tool and this is a built-in Schoology tool. There have been some training curves for teachers with sharing meeting codes and setting a nickname and all of that. Google Meet is a great meeting tool, but you have to keep in mind it was originally designed for business and it's now been converted to an education online meeting tool during this COVID-19 situation. Schoology has actually always had this tool built in to our enterprise version. So this is a built-in conferencing tool within our LMS. So a couple of key differences here. You cannot access a Schoology conference, the Big Blue Button conference, outside of this platform. So there is that added layer of security. You cannot get into here but for going into your Schoology account on a browser. You log into Schoology using your Google credentials, and so there's some security there. Another side of using the Schoology conferences is that it's built right into the course, so you can launch it directly to that audience of students, and it exists right in the platform. I'm sure that Kimberly, can you think of anything else to sort of add there to differentiate the two tools?
I feel like if you're going to use demonstrations or show kids how to do things, Schoology Conference is your best bet because that whiteboard is built in. Plus you can upload that presentation and annotate it. And while Google Meet doesn't really quite allow you to do that yet, I'm sure it's coming. But at this point, that's your best bet if you want to actually perform a lesson just like you were at the front of the classroom.
Yeah, the upload presentation, the ability to share the whiteboard and annotation space with students as well as a co-teacher. It's a more robust tool, I think. But you have to remember, this tool was designed for students in online learning, where Google Meet was designed as a business tool. All right, other questions? You can toss them in the chat or just unmute yourself. We've got a small group. Oh, like the thumbs up, Monique, that's perfect. All right. Feel free to add your questions to the chat. I am going to go hop back into the agenda, and we're going to look at ending our conference and accessing our completed recordings and history. Don't let me forget to go back and talk about link sections. I did forget to talk about that. All right. So you can ignore my move it, but I'm not uninstalling it. It's for my health. Okay. I'm in my conference and we've now been recording for 17 minutes. I am going to pause the recording. That's another thing that Google Meet doesn't have built in, the pause recording. So I could pause, like if I did give an activity to my students to work on and I don't want silent wait time in my recording, I could pause it. I can just resume it right up here. But now I do want to end the conference. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to leave audio. Now, when I leave audio, that is a point, just an important point for training. I've left audio. If I close out this tab, you can actually see in Schoology, the conference is still open. Okay, so I could actually hop right back into it if I wanted to. But the thing the teacher needs to do after they leave the audio is just go right here and click End Conference. Let me show you what's going on for Hannah when I left the audio, but I didn't leave the conference. I'm actually still in the meeting. So this is still a teacher best practice when you are conducting an online conference, just like if you're leaving the building for a fire drill or leaving your class at the end of the day, you want to make sure you don't leave your students in there. There is one button to click if you use the Schoology conferences to do that, and it is End Conference. And when I click End Conference, Hannah automatically gets this screen. The conference has ended, and she can give it feedback. I'll give it the 5 stars. All right. Hannah is no longer in that conference. If I refresh, Hannah no longer sees a link to that conference. But here in the completed tab, this is the history of conferences, and there are the recordings from previous sessions for up to the last 7 days. Now it tells me that this session is here. I was just in it, and it says no recordings found for this conference. It's not that there's no recording, but do bear in mind the video is rendering in the background. So you do want to train and prepare your students that if they miss the conference, you want to give it about an hour. My experience has been even less than that. The last training we did on this, it was rendered within 10 minutes or so. But give it about an hour, but it can take up to 24 hours depending on the pull on the system. So Schoology has published in their notes that conferences can take up to 24 hours for the video to render. I hit refresh on my teacher side, and as you can see, there's currently no conferences, but it's that completed tab. Now again, that recording is still rendering in the background. These are my previous conferences from this week. And if I had one and I don't want it there in my recording or in my history, I can go to the gear and delete that. So just so you're aware, teachers can control that. Students do not have that option. Completed, it's just the access to the link. So teachers can delete the recordings if they want to. All right. I do want to...
I'm going to just jump in here for a second.
Yep.
If you are having a conference between linked courses, you're only going to see it on your head course. So
your main
in the
course,
completed
yes.
section, yeah, you'll only see it there. Your students will be able to see it regardless of section. But if you flip between sections, you'll only see it in the first section.
Yeah, I can go into a link section and demonstrate it, but just so you're aware, I was on a call with a teacher yesterday and we were troubleshooting, and it was her belief that because when she had her linked sections up here, for that one I will show a linked section, so bear with me 1 second. For that teacher, when she had her linked sections up there, when she toggled to section 2, it looked as though there was no conference history in the completed conferences. However, we did test it and log in as a student, and the student in those linked sections are seeing their conferences. So I'm going to open up Jen Smith's course. Thanks, Jen, for sharing your course with me for training purposes. And I'm going to go to conferences. And so when you set up a conference in here, you can see your sections. I don't know why this is doing this again. But the drop-down menu from your sections will show the sublet, empty, Albright, empty. It'll show all the sections, but the completed conferences, which she doesn't have any in that one, are only going to show for that first section on the teacher side, but it does appear for all students. So I will go back now to my course with my conference. And so again, you will see it in your master course, the course that all your other sections are linked to. It will appear that it's not there for your other students, but it actually is when they are logged in. So now I'm going to we looked at how to access the completed recordings and the history. Now we're going to look at sharing your conference details, your Schoology updates and materials. There's really no other work for you to do. You can just tell your students that they can go into conferences. To join a conference, it's right here under active. To view when they missed, they click on completed. No real work there for you to do, but what I do recommend is that you post an update and you tell your students, hey everyone, if you missed today's conference, you can click the link below, click on completed and view the recording. So I can even give them a poll. Did you attend in person live or view the recording? Give them a little something to interact with. And right here, I can throw that poll in. Joined live, viewed recording. So I'm going to add that poll. That's just a nice little feature to add on. Those of you who've been in my trainings before know that I always like to point out this bottom row here. Let's say that I had that, remember that file that I had that I presented to the class? I could put a note that the presentation file is linked, is added below, if they want to follow along at home. So I can add that file right here. I had it on my desktop. That's actually the file that I used for our sample, so I'll attach that. And then I want to add a link. Now this is what I like about also using Schoology. You don't have to do this step, then that step, then this step. In your updates, you can link them directly to the content. So when I do this, I just grab the link to the conferences section. Well, you'll notice if you go to any part in Schoology, any assignment, the updates, a specific quiz, if you are in that area, you can just grab this URL, copy it, and paste it into your update. View conference here. And then I'm going to give them the direction too. Click on, and which will complete it. The more guidance you can give them, if you just put a link, you want to think about our parents and students learning at home. The more directive you can be when you post something, the better. All right, so I've posted this update. Didn't take me very long. I hadn't been narrating it. It would have been really quick. I wrote my message. I even threw in an extra element like a poll. I added a link to the file that I shared during my conference, and then I linked them right to the conference part. I hit post. Let's go back to Hannah. All right. Hannah has just logged into Schoology, and right there is a message from the teacher telling her that if you missed out on the conference, you can join. So I'm going to say, oh, okay, I'm going to view the recording. So then I can click this link. I'm right into the conferences. The teacher told me to hit completed. Now, bear in mind, I would probably tell them, I'd post it when I saw that the conference had played. But I can view my played recorded conference. What I love about this is later a student and parent can be working together at home, and they can repeat the part that they need to go over again and again for repeated practice. So I really like having all of this accessible right at your students' fingertips. There's not extra work for you to do with sharing a copy of a meeting view from your Google Drive or uploading that file to your YouTube channel. It just exists right there in Schoology. So looking back at our agenda, materials. I did show you how to do it as an update. I will show you that we do recommend, you can run everything just out of your updates. That's no problem. And if you do choose to do that, you might want to have your course set to land on updates if you're not going to use materials. So again, if you're not going to use the materials portion of your course, in your course, below the picture, you go to course options, course settings, and just have them scroll all the way down. Default landing page, you can make it updates. That's if you don't want to build content materials. I recommend you do build content materials, course materials, so I leave mine off that. But you could add a folder that is your discussions related to your meetings or whatever it is. Or you could just link right there in the materials. So add links to your conferences and include the attachments for presentations that you gave right there in Schoology materials, or just post it as an update, and your students are going to be able to easily follow along with that from their end. All right. that is the end of my agenda topics. We are at 2:44. No problem finishing early, but I want to open it up to anybody who has questions. And if you don't have questions, I'm going to start going into your contact hours and feedback form link that Kimberly added to the chat. But I'm going to pause just for a moment for questions if you want to just unmute.
Oh, hi, Rosemary. I got on here a little late.
Okay.
Can you let me know when the next, when you'll be doing this PD again, or?
Oh, I'll
if you
do it
will.
better for you. I'm going to upload this to my YouTube channel today.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you will be able to access the full recording. And actually, I'll go through that in the feedback form link.
Okay.
But on my channel, it will be posted right on my home videos. I need to delete that one. That was a sample from earlier. But it'll be one of these, and it will have a cover similar to looking to this. So look on my YouTube channel later. I'm going to add the link to my new YouTube channel now. If you subscribe to me and you have notifications turned on YouTube, I have YouTube on my phone, and the people I subscribe to, I get a notification. So Rosemary's YouTube channel.
How can I subscribe to you? How can
so if you click on the link that I just dropped right there,
okay,
then you can click subscribe when my YouTube channel comes up. It'll say subscribe.
Okay.
Yep. And then I'm going to go through this in the contact hours form because we have our schedule and everything linked right in here. We're doing our best to put everything in one location for you. So at the end of this conference, you should have your feedback form open. If you would like to earn contact hours, you do need to include your last name, first name, and employee ID number. Those aren't required if you don't need the contact hours. When you scroll down and you put in the rest of your information about which school or schools you work in, today's training was on the 17th at 2 p.m. The type of training, if you're here live, join virtual PD session video conference. But if you view any of the ones on my YouTube channel later, you can always select viewed a recorded virtual PD session. So for you right now, you've joined a virtual PD session. This was just under an hour, so you can select the first bubble, 30 minutes to an hour. And the trainers that held your session, I am Rosemary Jane, and moderating is Kimberly McLean. So please mark both our names. And you can just rate. A few ratings here. It's rather quick to go through. Add any questions or comments that you have. And then right here, if you want to see other opportunities that we have coming up, you can click on that link and it takes you to our virtual PD offerings schedule. If it's hard to see, you can always zoom, or I just usually click on present. Then you can see the full menu of choices coming up for the rest of the day today. Looks like we're the last one today. And then coming up next week. Now, if none of those are working for you or you need help sooner, in the contact form right below there, if you need further training, you can do the training request form. So complete that. If you still need help or have trouble with forgotten password or some sort of trouble like that, the ITM help email address is right there. I do recommend for your own purposes, you send yourself a copy of your responses and hit submit. All right, so that's all we have for you. There is another Schoology conferencing session coming up on Monday at 1 p.m. Kimberly is going to lead that one. And that's all we have for you folks. It's Friday afternoon. Go enjoy your lives. You're welcome, Lindsay. Thank you for joining us. All right, I'm going to stop the recording.